It's telling me going live. Hey y'all, how are y'all doing? It is the glow up is. I'm so excited, y'all. Law. This is episode 17. Um, man, listen. So the more you grow, the more you glow. And that is our motto, and that's what we doing. That's what we sticking to it. I don't know about y'all, but listen, I'm out here growing, growing. If you looked at the title of this already, so you already are aware that um we're going to be talking about self-acceptance and self-awareness, right? And so in order to grow, we have to be aware of our triggers, we have to be aware of ourselves, but we also have to accept ourselves and we also have to love ourselves. And in order for us to truly get to the next level in our life, right, we have to be able to accept those things that we cannot change. A lot of times what happens is that we do a lot of pointing the fingers, right? It's easy for people to point the finger at other people and tell other people what's wrong with them. But a lot of times we don't self evaluate. We don't take the time to really learn us, right? And so, how do we even begin to build relationship with other people if we don't really know who we are? If we don't really know our own triggers, if we don't really take the time to really heal ourselves and then get connected to someone thinking that they could actually help us or save us. And that's not their job to do that. It's not their job to heal us. It's not their job to fix us. It's not their job to um really, take responsibility for the things that it is that we've done, right? And so a lot of times it's easy for us again to point the finger at other people. We say that because it is, right? Because when it's you, you're the one that's involved. So because you're the one that's involved, it's gonna look like, okay, I'm a little bit more biased, right? And that's why God said that it's not fit for man to be alone, because at the end of the day, we need each other. Like, because if I'm really isolate myself and I continue to isolate myself, I'm not gonna see anything wrong with what I do. I'm not gonna see anything wrong. I'm gonna think that I'm perfect. I'm gonna think that I'm always right. Ouch, right? Because yeah, like who hasn't thought that they're always right? I went through a whole phase for a long time, and I thought y'all. But I promise you, when I'm talking to y'all, I am talking to myself too, and I'm never speaking to you on anything that I haven't gone through myself, right? And so I'm still going through this thing because some things, I'm right on, and some things I'm just like, well, I don't know about that. Maybe I'm not right. Maybe I don't have all of the answers. Maybe you know what I'm saying? So I know that I don't have all the answers now. But I had to grow up and I had to accept that, right? And I had to accept those things that I cannot change. And so um in order for us to really reach the next level, in order for us to even obtain, right, what it is that God has for our lives, we have to accept us. But we also have to make sure that we are aware of who we are and also the power that we have. And I don't think that sometimes we realize, I think we underestimate ourselves and we don't really recognize the value that we have in people's lives, right? Because maybe people aren't saying it. Maybe people aren't really giving you your flowers, right? While you are here, right? And so tonight's episode is really going to focus on let's giving ourselves our own flowers, giving ourselves kudos, right? That round of applause. Whether or not if it's sending gifts to yourself. I challenge any and everybody out there to do the love language test for yourself. Do the love language test for yourself. You can say that you're in a relationship, right? But when you answer them, it will actually tell you what your love language is. And I think that it's always so important for you to really love yourself, because if you can love yourself through the good, the bad, and the ugly, like there's some things about me that I don't like, right? And so I try to change some of those things. And some things I cannot change. Some things I just can't change because it's just in my DNA, right? And when I say the things that I can't change, is I'm talking about like certain things about me that I'm just like, maybe if I had this, or maybe if I had that, maybe this will look different, right? And so some things I just can't change because of my features, right? And so I get them from my mom and my dad. And some features I just can't change. But I've learned to accept those things that I cannot change, because the reality is, right, is that there's so much that's out here in this world, and the world will have you comparing yourself, comparing your body, comparing your skin, comparing the things that you have, the things that you don't have. And next thing you're on a pity party, or you're feeling bad or even ashamed, right? Because you feel like, I don't look like that, or I don't have what they have, right? And so it then gets you to a place where you feel alone. And that's what the enemy wants. The enemy wants you alone. And so that's the main thing on tonight. We have to be aware of that. We have to be aware, like when I'm going down this tangent, when I begin to see the triggers. I begin to see that, okay, I'm beginning to isolate myself. I'm beginning to put myself in comparison, right, to other people. I'm thinking about the things that I don't have versus me being appreciative to the things that I do have, right? And then also looking and affirming myself. Like, am I affirming me today? Did I wake up this morning and get so excited about being alive? Am I thankful and grateful to still be here? I think sometimes even in life, we just take things for granted because we really believe that God has the right to wake us up. Like, God is going to wake me up tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll make plans tomorrow. That's all faith, really, because tomorrow you don't have to wake up, but He wakes you up. Right. So you were here and blessed and honored to have another day and to see another day. Some people didn't even wake up today. Like, some people aren't able to even see anymore. Some people aren't able to smell. Some people aren't able to touch. Some people don't have the things that you have or the abilities that you have, right? And I think that sometimes if we don't evaluate ourselves, we will never really understand what we do have. Like, when was the last time that you really sat down with you? I'll wait. I'm just saying. Listen, I'm telling you this because I started doing this a couple of, like, not even a couple of years ago, maybe a few years ago, maybe about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Um, I really began to be really intentional with my time, right? For me, like literally setting time for myself, literally setting time aside to evaluate, where is Toya? What is Toya trying to do? What's the next steps for me? What are some things that I need to change? What are some things that I can't change? What are some things that I need to accept about Toya? And I think that when you do that, right, you really make the enemy mad, because what happens is that he tries to utilize those things, and put those things against you, right? But God says, if I be for you, who can be against you? And at the end of the day, if He be for us, who can be against us? There is no competition. There is nobody, not even you, right? Because if He be for you, like, you stand no chance against God. Nobody stands a chance against God. So that means that you already win. That means that the victory is already won. That means that you've already literally, right, won the race. And you don't even know it. Like, a lot of times we comparing ourselves and we looking like, dang, maybe she's more prepared for me. She's more prepared for this race than I am. Maybe she looks more fit than I am. And a lot of times, right, we don't even know people's conditions. Like, some of the most healthiest people that we are just like, man, they were so healthy, but they're not really, as everything is not all that it seems, right? And some things people just can't avoid, right? Some things are hereditary, some things aren't. And so that's why we have to be mindful, and we also have to make sure that we're doing our part, which is making ourselves aware of who we are, right? But we also need to make sure that we're also being aware of accepting ourselves, like extending grace to ourselves. I don't know about y'all, man, but sometimes I could be real crazy, like on myself, like really bad on myself. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing this. But I've gotten a lot better with extending myself grace. I've like, girl, it's okay. Calm down, just breathe, be patient. And sometimes that anxiety can get the worst of you too, because you start thinking about all of these other things that it is that you want to do and the things that you should be doing, right? And you get worked up because sometimes that's what happens. People, life be life, and man, people will start pulling on you, tugging on you, especially if you're the one that they call for advice, or maybe you're the one who's always encouraging them. Maybe you're the one who's always trying to help build them up, right? And then when it's time for you to have somebody to fill your cup up and help build you up and encourage you, you ain't nobody around. So that's what I say, is that it's so um awesome to be able to take evaluation, take the time to know who you are, right? And to accept you, right? But then to also help grow you, because when you accept you for where you're at, that's when you know that you can go to the next level. You can rise above all circumstances, anything that comes at you or is thrown at you. You can just say, you know what? I got this. It don't matter what is thrown at me today. I'm gonna be intentional with accepting me. I'm gonna be intentional regardless of whether or not if I fit in or not. Because guess what? We weren't made to fit in anyway. I never fit in. I never fit in with anybody. I never fit in, and it's so crazy because I don't think that I ever had any. I don't think when I think about like me being in school and all of that. Like for me, I used to like tutor, like I used to tutor like a lot of the popular guys. I used to tutor them and I used to, like the basketball players and all the football players and stuff like that, right? Um and one thing I can say about even in that experience, right? I learned to accept that, listen, you smart. You ain't gonna dumb yourself down for nobody, right? And so I think that's when I really got to a place where my confidence level had gotten so high because I was smart. And I knew that I was smart. I knew that, even me taking college prep classes, right? And leaving school, right, with the 4.0, right? It made me feel good. It made me feel good. But I knew that it was the work. It was the work that I put into it. And so I say all of that to say this is that the more you begin to accept you and you do the work and learn yourself, right? And you're aware of what works for you, what ticks you off. You should know your pet peeves. You should know you better than anybody. Like there should not be one person in the world who can tell you more about you than you. I'm just saying, you should really have a relationship with yourself and love on yourself and to be able to really know because that's how we build the confidence. That's how we begin to really, become unapologetic. Like some of us, right? Some of us were just like, man, I ain't never been unapologetic. I don't even know how to be unapologetic. How do you become so bold like this? How do you even begin to speak the words out of your mouth and just know that this is going to happen because God has given you the authority to speak it. So you have to be able to speak these things over yourself. And if you don't believe them about yourself, how can the world or other people, right, that come across you, how are they even supposed to believe the things that it is that you are supposedly supposed to believe about yourself? But sometimes, right, it takes others to believe in you in order for you to believe in yourself. And so sometimes you do have those relationships, right? But they're still not the ones who fix you. You have to literally take the time and do the work and build yourself up and begin to again accept yourself. It's real, y'all. Listen, it's real out here in these streets, and I do understand that, right? Because what I know is that accepting yourself can be one of the hardest things, right? But if you don't do it, how can you expect somebody else to? Like the way that you feel about you, other people can feel how you feel about you. Like if you don't value yourself, other people will pick up on that, right? And they'll be like, "Dang, she don't even value herself. She don't even have no standards. She don't even respect herself." And a lot of us, we're in relationships now that have given us red flags, shown us like it's time for you to go. You keep wasting your time. You keep wasting your precious jewels, right? And I ain't talking about just relationships. I'm not talking about like relationships with spouses. I'm talking about relationships with friends too, because people will drain you. People will take all of your precious jewels and it will keep on trying and trying and trying to get your approval, to get you to be on their side, to try to tell you, and you already see it for what it is. But a lot of times, man, if we look at it and we're like, dang, I stayed in this, I rocked with this for so long and I became so used to it, but you knew deep down inside that this was not good for you. You knew it wasn't good for you, but you kept it going and you made it into something. And now you feel like, I got years into this thing. I don't want to just let it go. But when you know that you begin to let it go, you feel so free and you've never felt this free before. But then what happens is that sometimes in life, right, we get cycles, right? Cycles. And this is where that self awareness comes right back in because the enemy knows our past and he knows our habits. It's easy for him to utilize those habits. It's easy for him to wrap those things up, right? In great packages, in disguises, right? And to make us feel good and to make us vulnerable But we have to know our weak spots. We have to be able to know the things that come up against us, whether or not if it's our own selves, whether or not if it's just flesh against flesh in that moment, right? And I'm saying this because y'all, I'm telling you, I've been there before. I know what that feels like. And it's crazy because, even in healed moments, right? You still have triggers even when you try to have relationships, not just with other people but with self. Because even me talking to myself, sometimes I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, okay, now we're not gonna talk to you like this today. And y'all, sometimes I have to talk to myself and I'm like, no, we're not gonna talk to you like that today. We're gonna address you like the queen that you are, right? And I say my affirmations every morning. I say them every morning. I can literally command my morning every morning, and I literally tell myself exactly what I know about myself. No longer believing what I believe about myself, but I know it. And that's something too, is that sometimes it starts with just believing it, right? But then after a while, you become very unapologetic because you know and you cannot be persuaded otherwise. Like, I know my worth. I know that I'm a queen. So you could never confuse me for a peasant. You could never confuse me for a clown. You could never confuse me for a fool. And it doesn't matter what other people perceive me as, but what I perceive me as and what I know me as, right? That perception is not my reality. Ain't that cute? I'm just saying, because we have to be aware, right, of who we are, but we also have to be aware of accepting ourselves. And when you truly begin to accept yourself, it's not saying that it's an easy process, because I'm gonna tell you one thing about me, I can be very complex. And what I realized is that, a lot of times for me, and even in my past relationships, now I'm talking about like just, significant otherwise. I've always ended up with the type of men that either are similar to me, or um I end up with older men, right? Um that are similar to me, as far as not personality wise, but as far as the way I think and the way that I communicate. And what I realized is that that irritates me. I don't need another Latoya in that way. And so because of that, right, I literally had to break that off, because I realized it's like, why am I in a relation? I'm already in relationship with me. So I don't need another me. So I had to accept that, right? And I had to literally accept that this is not gonna work. And so then you get, for me, I end up meeting somebody else, and I felt like we were different, you know what I'm saying? But our personalities though were similar. And it weirded me out a little bit, because I was just like, okay, so I don't know whether if I helped make him this way or help, because it didn't start off that way, but it was almost like he literally changed into me. And I was just like, this is just not gonna work. I ain't a listener. Because what happens is, right, is that what happens is that you have one person that's trying to talk, and then you got another person that's trying to talk. Nobody's trying to listen. And so I was just like, listen, it's gonna have to be probably somebody that's a little bit more reserved, right? That's outgoing, maybe, but not outspoken. Or maybe somebody that is, not outspoken, but outgoing. I don't know. Because two outspoken people. But then again, I feel like I'm starting to not be as outspoken as I used to be, but I'm still unapologetic, if that makes sense. Maybe that don't make sense, but I'm just saying. Like, I feel like I'm not as outspoken as I used to be, because I used to just be like just straight shoot or just say what I got to say, whatever. But now I actually think about the things that I say before I say them, which is great, because I'm aware. And that's why I say self awareness and self acceptance is a real thing. Like, we have to be mindful of where we're at in this present moment, right? Because whatever we do in this present moment is going to affect our future. So I'm very mindful of what I say and how I say it now. And I think that's a good thing. That's actually, I know that's a dope thing. That's a real great thing, especially for others. Because, for me, man, I would like, I ain't gonna say embarrass you, but I feel like maybe I would. I would probably just put it out there and not care how you felt or whatever. And I think that came from me growing up, right? And it being allowed. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. But, later on in life, those things die out because you get older, right? And so you realize that sometimes certain things just aren't meant to be said. And I mean, it's meant to be said, but it's meant to be said in a private setting or in a different, and everything has a time. Everything has a time. So I've learned to accept that, right? So that's why I say, y'all, man, self awareness and self acceptance is a real thing. And we all got some more. Listen, I still got some more to go. I still got some more growing to do. You got some more growing to do. We growing together. And then I even had put a Facebook status up today. And we kind of was talking about, people. Right. And regardless of whether or not, if we believe it or not, we all grow. We all grow. But there's a difference between growth and maturity, right? Maturity is really putting the growth to work, right? And actually doing the work, right? You're in the process of, you're learning, you're accepting the growth. Growing is you can grow, right? You can grow. That means that you're changing. There's a change that's happening, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that you processed it. That means that there's a change that's happening. That means that you're getting older, right? But just because you're getting older doesn't necessarily mean that you're acting that age. That doesn't necessarily mean, right, that you're doing the things that it is that you're supposed to do. Like there's a lot of 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, 40 something year olds that still believe that they are in the mindset of 16-year olds, 19-year olds, 20-year olds. And it's like, when are you going to grow up? When are you really going to take the time to really mature? Not just grow up, right? Because you're grown, right? Because of your age, but you're not mature. And it's two separate things. And so we have to be intentional, right? With our growth. Like, and that comes right back into the self-aware and also accepting yourself. Like accept those things you can't change. Take the time to heal. Like a lot of us, man, we're holding on to things that happened to us when we were kids. Like kids, things that were happening to us when we were younger. And it's like, why are we holding on to those things that we can't change? Why are we holding on to things of the past? Why are we holding on to past traumas? Why are we holding on to he said, she said stuff? Or seeds that were planted, right, from people, and you weren't even there to witness it. How are we holding on to those things? We're holding on to things that people hear. That sounds crazy. Something that you heard, not some things that you've seen for yourself, right? And even to the things that you think you see, right? Because a lot of us, right, we don't really know because we weren't really there, but we're going off of the things that we hear. And it's crazy because it's like, why am I holding on to this? And I thought that I was grown and I feel like I'm grown. You're not grown just because you're older, but the law, according to the law, you are. But maturity plays a major role. Which one do you want to be? Do you just want to grow or do you also want to mature? Putting the growth into process and putting that into your routine is going to mature you. It's going to help you to elevate into the woman or the man of God that he has for you to be. Like he's called for us to literally worship him. He's called us for purpose. He's called us for all of these things. But a lot of us aren't even willing to accept ourselves because we can't even accept ourselves. How in the world can we even begin to even accept God? A lot of us don't even know how to even accept God because we don't even take the time to even love on ourselves and to accept ourselves. How can we even begin to accept the love nor receive the love from somebody else if we can't even receive the love from God and let alone ourselves? Self love is amazing, but His love is most amazing. Like it's better, it's the best. And if we can love Him and He can show us what love really is, it will be really amazing to be in a relationship, right? And I'm not talking about just significant others, I'm talking about healthy friendships, healthy relationships with people where you don't feel like a person has to have a motive to be around you. A person doesn't have to do this in order to be around you. there are such things as healthy friendships. There's such things as healthy spouse relationships. It does not have to be toxic. It doesn't have to be dysfunctional. It doesn't have to be all of those things that, because we all got dysfunctionality in our families. We all got it, right? But at the end of the day, man, you are not that. You are who you are, and you are who God says you are. But we have to get into the word in order to understand who we are. So be mindful, y'all, of your awareness, and be mindful of accepting yourself. Be kind to yourself. Extend yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace. I know sometimes it can be tough, but don't beat yourself up. You got it. We in this thing together. I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you. You hear me? I'm rooting for you. So next week, I'll see y'all back, same time, 8 o'clock. We growing to glow. It's no excuses. Listen, I got you. Listen, because we in this thing together. I'm telling you, we are in this thing together. You are not an island by yourself, and I'm not an island by myself. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all so much. And I'm gonna see y'all next week. Okay. The glow up ears is out. Ow. Bye.